Anthropic has come out with Claude Code, which is a CLI tool that you can use for agentic coding. And in this video, I'm going to be trying it out on a DevOps project, seeing how useful it is for DevOps engineers. So Claude Code is a CLI tool, which is why I like it so much, why it appeals to me so much, because I do everything in Neovim on the CLI, and it will be great to have a tool that I can use in that workflow. So you install it with npm install, and the great thing about this is that I can also use this in my dev containers, because as you know, I'm almost exclusively working inside of dev containers these days, and I have a project here prepared, which I created a while ago. This is a project that reads data from a Shelly sensor, and it reads my bedroom temperature. So the Shelly sensor sends data to a MQTT message queue, and then I have a Python container running in my Kubernetes homelab that reads that queue and then pushes that to a Postgres database, which I then can read in my Grafana dashboard here. So I have a full overview of my bedroom temperature over the last 90 days, for example, and the humidity. So that's what this does. And the project, I'm very ashamed to say, is running as a root user in my Kubernetes home lab. It's running as a root container. So I need to fix this. And I wrote this myself, but at the time I didn't have much time. So the Dockerfile is currently looking like this, where it's just running as the root user. That's not good. So I figured this would be a nice challenge for Claude Code. So first of all, I'm going to build my dev container. So devpod up.recreate. So this is going to check my dev container.json, and it is then installing all of the required the things that I need for this specific project. It is now going to clone all of my dot files and installing them exactly as I like it. And I am using, for this I'm using Chez Moi and Mies. So you will see that Mies is now installing FCF, ripgrep, Neovim, and it's going to basically set up my dev environment exactly as I like it. So if I now do devpod SSH and I search for Shelly, then I have my environment completely configured for me. I'm just going to allow these experimental settings to be true like this. And now I am basically ready to develop. So if I open up Neovim now, then it's going to install Neovim with all of my configuration. And when everything is set up, I have a fully isolated separate environment that's running on my PC. So now this is done, I will then just add the Python extra like this. So now my Python is enabled, and if I now would open my main.py file, it is now going to install all of the required packages that I need to do Python development. So everything is ready to develop now, and if this all seems like magic to you, or if you're interested in my dev container workflow, check out my community at school.com/KubeCraft. I have a full course that is released just this month where I teach you how to set this up. So let's now install Claude Code. So I'm going to go into the documentation here, and it's just going to be, we're going to be using npm to install Claude Code. And the interesting thing is that I can now actually authenticate as well, even though I don't have a browser. So let's just follow the guide here. So start Claude Code, run Claude to launch. That's basically what we have to do, run Claude. And now it's going to ask me for a few configuration options. So I do the light text. And now it's going to ask me to log into my Anthropic console account. So let's do that. Now, my dev container obviously does not have a browser, so then it's just going to give me a link that I can follow. So let's follow that link, and now it's going to ask me to authorize. I'm already logged into my Anthropic account, and if I then copy this code and paste it, then it's going to create an API key, and here we go, my project is now set up. This is basically Claude Code and the interface that we are presented with. So we can run the help command for help, or we can run the init command to create a claude.md file with instructions for Claude. So let's do that first, because then it's going to basically analyze my little project here. It's going to see if it needs any, it's going to see any conventions that I might have. It's basing this on the code, but also on the README. Okay, so now it has created a claude.md file. It has some instructions how to run the Docker container with Mies install. That's interesting. It has detected that we're using UV, rough. Okay, and here are some code style guidelines that it detected. Follow the PEP 8 style guide. Okay, interesting. So here it has added some project instructions then. Well, also, I like to use conventional commits for all of my commits. So I know that Claude Code can do git commits. So let's just add to the Claude.md that we use conventional commits in this repository. Take a look at the previous commits. Okay, so it's actually looking at the commit history now. And now it's also using use conventional commits for all commit messages. Do you want to make this edit to Claude.md? Yes, I do. Thank you. So I press yes. And now it has added this to the conventional commit section. Okay, great. So far so good. Claude Code is running. It is able to make changes, and it's all running inside of my dev container. So that's very important to note. I have a couple of prompts that I want to try out here. So the first one is the layout for this project has changed. Update the Dockerfile with the correct paths. So before, the main.py file was in a SRC directory. And as I was moving it around to UV, I decided to change this to the project name using a flat structure in this case. And I figured, let's see if Claude can fix this. So let's just paste, oops, not this, but let's just copy this and paste my prompt here. Update the Dockerfile with the correct paths. So let's see how it will do with this. Here we go. Copy the application directory contents into the container at app. Okay, so that edit was made. So now let's see if Claude can help me with some git commands. So here in this guide, it has some common tasks here. So you can, as you can see, you can ask it questions about your code. So this is interesting. Explain how the caching layer works, but also automate git operations. So commit my changes, create APR, with commit added tests for Markdown back in December. This is really interesting. So let's just do commit my changes. So here we go, git add. Okay, the git add command is fine. And now let's see, git commit m docs, add claude.md and fix Dockerfile paths. Okay, so this is a very long commit message. Is it actually good practice to have these long commit messages? I'm just used to like these one-liners. I would have this rather in my PR. So let's tell it no. Use one-line commit messages like we did earlier in the project. Yeah, here we go. Docs, add claude.md and fix Dockerfile paths. Okay, I like that. So do you want to proceed? Yes. Okay, so now we have automated this git operation, which is nice, all from the CLI. So now the next prompt that I have in mind is the container is currently running as root. Update it to run as a non-root user. Also use the 313 Alpine image. So let's see if I give it this project, but this prompt. There's a little bit of a sneaky one here because I'm not telling it to use the Python 313 Alpine image. So let's just see if it does that correctly. So it's reading the Docker file. Ah, here we go. It just changed this to Python 3.13 Alpine, so that's nice. Create a non-root user. Okay. Change the ownership of the application files and switch to a non-root user. Okay, so I actually made a bit of a mistake in my prompt. So let's revise our prompt again. I press 3 and I'm going to say, this looks great. Just one more change. I want to use user and group ID 1000 in my Kubernetes manifest. Okay, so now it's changed the command to with the group ID and the name like this. Okay, so then this should work. Okay, so let's add that. Looks good. And now also let's do an optimization of the Dockerfile so that it becomes as small as possible. Like this. Okay, so let's see what it has done now. So now it has created it sets the work directory. It is not using a multi-stage build at this point. Okay. Okay, so let's see if I was more thinking in the direction of a multi-stage build. Let's see what it does with that. Here we go. This looks better. So we have a build stage. It copies the requirements.txt and it copies the directory, and then there's the final stage. Okay, so now we're having a multi-stage build. All right, so let's accept this. And now let's see if this actually will work and build properly. So I'm now going to go into my project again. I do have a Docker Compose file with a DB, but currently those ports are in use and I'm not going to bother with changing that around. I am just going to test if this will actually work. And I will also need a environment file. So let's see if I do build like this, Docker Compose up build, and let's just see if the image builds at all. Okay, great. So yes, there is an error, but this is actually because it cannot connect to the database. So it is actually, when I run the Python command, it is actually it actually has all of the dependencies, all the packages that it needs. So the Python program is actually running correctly. So we see it's even logging, and then it comes to the point where it creates a Postgres connection, and then it fails. So the build does work. Now, finally, there is a last little change that I have made. So this project was using Poetry before, and now I have migrated this to UV. So the structure has changed a little bit here, because before I was using requirements.txt, and that, according to my research, that is now the old-fashioned way of doing things. And now that UV has come along, there are cleaner ways of doing this, and just by using the PyProject.toml. So the next prompt that I want to give to Claude Code is, this project was using a requirements.txt before. I've migrated the project to use Mies and UV. Please update the Dockerfile so it uses UV and the PyProject.toml. So I have this, but just in case, because this is so relatively new, I think I'm also just going to give it the documentation here. So I'm just going to copy all of the documentation about how to use UV in Docker containers, like that. And I'm just going to, let's see, claude.md. I will add a docs directory. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, I should actually just commit this, commit my changes. Interesting. So it detected that I had been changing the Docker compose.yaml. Do you want to make this edit? No. No, ignore the Docker compose for now. Okay, so it's now committing the Dockerfile updates. Okay, so that is now committed. That's nice. Now I will just do a docs directory, and in the docs directory, docs, I will create uv.md and just paste all of this in there. It's technically not markdown, but let's see. So then I'm going to add this to my prompt as well. I have added instructions in docs uv.md. I have added the latest uv docs in this directory with instructions about how to use UV in Docker containers. So let's see how this is going to play out. This is quite a bit of a challenge, I think, for an LLM that does not have access to the internet. Okay, so let's check it out. So it is now going to be using the UV Python image. So UV is already going to be there. Then it's going to copy the PyProject.toml and the UV lock. And then it's going to install the dependencies with UV frozen to ensure reproducibility. Okay, that looks good. This is not good. It changed this back to SRC. Why did it do that? It is actually adding this twice, so that's not good. Okay. Okay, so a couple of things. Why are you introducing an SRC directory? Don't do that. Keep it simple. Okay, this looks a lot better. So we're taking that image, it's copying the Py project, and then it's installing the env. Now it's running this twice. So why is it doing that? Let's check out why it does that. So why are we running UV sync twice? Okay, so now it is running UV sync only once, so that's good. And it is now adding this here. So let's just accept this for now. And oh, now it's actually also asking me to add this, to commit this right away. So that's interesting. So the git add, I'm not going to need confirmation for that anymore. It doesn't have to ask me. And now it's going to run a git commit, and I want to proceed with that. So let's test out our application for now. So let's see if I can do a Docker build again and see if the application actually builds. And here we go. It actually ran. So it has actually installed it correctly with all of the dependencies. And because like if I didn't have the dependencies in here, then it would not run. It would error out because it wouldn't have the dependencies available. So that's how I know that it's going to be running correctly. Now let's just do one more thing and let's see if it can actually also update my Kubernetes manifest. So I will go to my homelab repo and pool. And let's see where my Shelly deployment here. So this is my Shelly deployment, and for convenience sake, I'm just going to add this to my repository for now. So docs, I will just do example deployment.yaml and paste this in like this. So I have added an example deployment YAML. Update this so it runs as user 1000,000. in my Kubernetes cluster. Let's see if it detects it even if I don't tell it where it is. Okay, so it actually globbed to search for the YAML file. That's interesting. It sets the security context. It does the run as user. And it's also adding dropping capabilities. So it's actually, this is actually fully secured now. So yes, I want to have this as my correct deployment.yaml. Now I believe github.com Misha Shelley, if I go here, my GitHub actions should now have, when I push these changes, my GitHub actions will build a new container image for this. So yes, I want to commit this. And let's say push my changes. I want to push, and I'm curious. Yes, it's going to detect my YubiKey. Successfully pushed my changes. And now we see that my GitHub Actions is now actually running. So this should then result in a new tag because this GitHub Actions creates tags automatically. So if this all builds and works out correctly, then we can update my manifest and then my container should be running as a non-root user. Okay, so my image has now been updated. And if I check my tags, my latest tag is now 030. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open that deployment.yaml. And I'll go to my home lab and paste that in. And let's update this to 030. And I will push this. So feed update Shelley to non-root. Let's push that to my home lab repo. And then I will just enter the dev container for that. And reconcile apps. So now I'm just telling my GitOps controller to pull in the latest changes. And if I now open up K9s, we should see a fresh container being deployed. Here we go. My Shelley API is already running. It's 14 seconds old. And if I check the logs for that, then here we go. Data insertion has completed. So it is running successfully. And if I enter my shell here, if I now run who am I, I'm running as app user, cat at c password. Here we go. I'm running as user 1000. And if I do, for example, app add vim, permission is denied. I'm not able to add any packages because I'm a non-root user. So if I do sudo su, then it won't work. So here we go. I have successfully updated my application to run a multi-stage build. It converted my project to UV, and it is using that method of installing packages now. I'm automatically pushing my changes to GitHub, and I also managed to run as a non-root user successfully. So I'm actually really impressed by this. I'm actually very happy with this tool, because as you see, I am now working completely in the CLI while having the benefits of agentic coding. So I can go back and forth between sessions where I have my Claude Code open and my plain Neovim, and I can just do everything that I want, like I'm used to on the CLI using my dev containers. So Claude Code combined with dev containers is a very powerful thing. So the final thing is I've heard that Claude Code is very expensive. So let's check out what the costs are for this. Let's exit. Okay, so this whole session cost me $1. So this is a very small project with not so much code. So yeah, is this a lot of money? I don't know. It seems more expensive than if I would be using the Claude API myself. It takes ages to burn through $20 there. However, this is manageable for me. Like, I'm okay with this. This is definitely $1 of value that I have gotten here. But I have heard that with bigger projects and bigger tasks that this can get expensive very quickly. So I am definitely going to be using this more and testing it out. So if you were interested in this dev container workflow that I have a full course for you that can help you. Or if you liked what I was doing on my home lab, I can also help you build your Kubernetes home lab yourself. For all of that and direct access to me and the community, go to school.com/KubeCraft, and I hope to see you there. All right, thank you for watching, and see you in the next one.